Hello everyone and welcome back for some more movie and TV gossip, secrets and drama. Desperate Housewives is a comedy drama that ran from 2004 until 2012, spanning 8 seasons over 180 episodes. The show revolved around the lives of a group of housewives who live in the seemingly idyllic Wisteria Lane. However, there is a lot of hidden drama, mystery and secrets in all of their lives. The show was widely successful and won several awards, including Emmys and Golden Globes. It also became one of the longest running shows with a female-led cast. On screen, the housewives were involved in plenty of drama. However, the cast of the show also had a lot of feuds and fights off screen, which led to some very explosive drama, including lawsuits, feuds between the actresses, and accusations of a toxic workplace environment. So today we're going to be doing a bit of a deep dive into the surprising drama and scandals that you may not have known about involving the cast of Desperate Housewives. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. Problems with Teri Hatcher. Desperate Housewives had a large ensemble cast, but the main 4 cast members were Teri Hatcher as Susan Meyer, Felicity Huffman as Lynette Scavo, Marsha Cross as Brie Vanderkamp, and Eva Longoria as Gabrielle Solis. Although all 4 of the main actresses had established careers in the industry prior to Desperate Housewives, Teri Hatcher was probably the best known of all of them at the time because she had appeared in several high-profile projects such as the James Bond movie Tomorrow Never Dies and the TV show Lois and Clark, among other projects. The Desperate Housewives cast has been plagued for years with rumours that none of the cast members got on very well, and there were frequent feuds between the actresses. However, it was Teri Hatcher who was often seen as being the most problematic one, and she apparently had issues with the rest of the cast, according to various rumours. The drama to do with Teri is a bit complicated because it spans over multiple other dramas that happened. So in this section, I'm just going to give an overview of the various dramas involving Teri, and then later in the video I'll go through each drama in more specific detail. So one of the alleged issues with Teri was that she felt like she was the main character of the show and always insisted on being in the centre of all promo photos, which annoyed her fellow co-stars. And this rumour seemed to be somewhat true, given what we know about the big scandal to do with the infamous Vanity Fair cover shoot, which I'll be talking about in more detail in the next section. Nicollette Sheridan, who played Edie Britt, also once reportedly got into an argument with Teri on set, and according to the show's creator Mark Cherry, Nicollette once described Teri as, quote, the meanest woman in the world. Although it should be noted that Nicollette herself has also been accused of being problematic on set, and she even ended up suing the show, which we'll talk about later in the video. There was also another incident to do with Teri Hatcher that seemed to suggest that she was not very well liked by her fellow co-stars. According to The Hollywood Reporter in 2012, when the final 2-part episode of Desperate Housewives came out, there were 2 wrap parties for the cast and crew, but Teri did not attend either of those parties, which a lot of people felt was quite odd given that Teri was one of the main characters. On top of that, according to the entertainment website Celebuzz, they got hold of a card that was attached to a gift which the cast gave to the crew as a parting gift. And on the card, it apparently said, just know that on all your future endeavours, you are carrying a little piece of our love and gratitude. Thank you for a magical 8 years. Love, Eva, Marsha, Felicity and Vanessa. Fans quickly noticed that Teri's name was absent from the gift card, which again is odd given that she was one of the main cast members and 3 of the other main cast members were named. What was even weirder was that one of the people whose name was on the card was Vanessa Williams, who played Renee Perry, but she was only on the show for 2 seasons, whereas Teri was on every season as a main cast member. And so fans then started speculating that Teri's name may have been deliberately not included as part of the gift card because Teri had potentially fallen out with the other cast members. In fact, according to an article in TV Guide from 2012, it says that the other actresses often excluded Teri from things, and it goes on to say, quote, "Something went down 2 seasons ago that created a deep rift with Teri Hatcher, who physically separates herself from the others during breaks in filming." Although in this article, it doesn't make it clear who actually said that, so this might just be a rumour and is therefore unsubstantiated. There are also a few other things that the cast have said over the years which point to a potential rift among the actresses in general. For example, in 2018, Eva Longoria appeared on the Jimmy Kimmel Live show, and she was asked if all of the cast members are still friends. Eva said, quote, "Felicity and Marsha are going to be at my star ceremony. Felicity is giving a speech. We're very, very good friends." Jimmy then asked if all of them are friends, to which Eva said, quote, "No, but 99% of us are." And although Eva didn't specify who she was talking about, most people assumed that she was talking about Teri Hatcher because she was the only one of the 4 main actresses that Eva didn't mention. However, Eva may have also been talking about Nicollette Sheridan. Eva did seem to contradict herself slightly though, when in 2023 she appeared on Dax Shepard's podcast Armchair Expert. In the podcast, the host, Dax, asked Eva about the alleged rift between all of the actresses and asked if they were always fighting with each other as was reported. Eva said, quote, "God, I forgot that was a thing." She then went on to say, quote, "Yeah, well, that's just a narrative they do on women because we're over 40 in a television show." And although she said that the cast didn't really pay attention to any of the rumours because they were all hard at work, she didn't actually deny that the rumours were true, which many fans took to mean that there probably was some truth to the rumours. During my research for this video, I also came across a clip from a 2008 interview on the On Demand Entertainment YouTube channel with Dana Delaney, who played Kathryn Mayfair. In the clip, Dana said that she was originally offered the role of Brie Vanderkamp, but she turned it down and then later regretted it, but then later on she was offered the role of Kathryn. The interviewer then asked what it was like on set, because we've all heard the rumours that the cast don't like each other. Dana said that she and her friends all wondered the same thing as well, and people like to think that it's all dramatic catfights. But she said, quote, "I think whatever issues there were have been settled. They're professional actresses. They all get along fine right now. They're all in their separate corners." Which perhaps implies that there were issues among the actresses, but they perhaps distanced themselves from each other, which is why the issues were resolved. However, this is not confirmed and is just supposition. There were also a few other things that implied that the cast did not get on very well, and that Teri Hatcher was difficult to work with, but I'll go through those later in the video in the relevant sections. But from the information that is out there, it seems that at the very least, there likely were some issues off camera between the actresses, and Teri Hatcher seemed to be the one that most people had an issue with. However, one of the most well-known fallouts between the cast had already happened, so let's talk more about that now. The Vanity Fair cover drama. In May 2005, the 5 main cast members of Desperate Housewives posed for the cover of Vanity Fair magazine, as well as each actress getting their own solo section within the magazine. Although the cover may look like a standard photo, this photo shoot has gone down in history as being one of the most dramatic and tension-filled shoots ever. In fact, on the cover itself, it even says, "You won't believe what it took just to get this photo." Vanity Fair published an in-depth article inside the magazine itself, explaining what happened during the shoot, which included tantrums, storming off set, and explosive confrontations. And this article, of course, caused quite a stir with the readers at the time. So I'm going to go through exactly what happened according to Vanity Fair's own article. So the shoot was apparently on a tight schedule and was supposed to run from 9 AM to 4 PM. Eva Longoria accidentally showed up 2 hours early to set due to a mistake by a publicist, so she left to go and sleep for a few hours instead. The article's author then said that ABC, which is the network that Desperate Housewives was on, said that there would be a minimal number of publicists and personal assistants on set. However, the article's author describes it like, quote, unwelcome apparitions, they appeared one by one. And some of them were saying that it had been a, quote, tough week and nerves were raw between the ladies. There was then a man who in the article is referred to only as, quote, the enabler, who was employed by ABC as a publicity shoot coordinator, but his job was to basically make sure the actresses were happy and do whatever they say. The enabler apparently said, quote, whatever you do not let Teri Hatcher go to wardrobe first, because apparently they were concerned that Teri always got the best clothes. And Teri was also not allowed to be in the centre of the photo. However, Teri was the first person to arrive on set because Eva was still sleeping, so she went to the wardrobe department first to pick out her outfit. And apparently the enabler shouted, quote, you've got to stop her. But Teri did get there first, and they also found out that Teri had apparently consulted with the shoot stylist a few days before the shoot anyway. The other ladies then arrived, and things seemed to be going fine. But the enabler said that apparently Eva Longoria had sent him a text message saying, quote, everything is not fine. The ladies' outfits for the shoot were 1950s pin-up style, but the enabler was, quote, furious because the network didn't want them to wear bathing suits because the network didn't want the show to come across as, quote, trashy, but all of them ended up in bathing suits except Teri. The enabler apparently was purple in the face and could, quote, barely control his rage. And the real drama started when it came time for the group photo shoot. The publicists were told to leave the set and wait around the corner because it's protocol for these types of shoots to be a closed set. The original shot was supposed to be that Eva was on the lounger and Felicity was leaning against it on the far left. Nicollette was supposed to be on the chair on the far right, then it was Marcia and Teri who were next to her. But when Marcia saw that Teri was next to her in her bright red outfit, she apparently, quote, exploded, grabbed her bathrobe and walked off set. Marcia then apparently yelled at the enabler and said, quote, get your effing ass over here now and do your effing job. Marcia was then told that the enabler wasn't allowed to come on set due to it being a closed set. And Marcia apparently responded saying, quote, I don't care if it's an effing closed set, you get him over here. Teri apparently just stood there and tried her best to work with the situation, and the author of the article questioned whether Teri knew the rule that she was not supposed to be in the centre of photos. The photographer then suggested that Marcia and Nicollette should switch places, but Marcia said no because she didn't want to sit on the chair. So Teri instead agreed to take the chair on the far left of the photo, which meant that Nicollette was in the middle between Teri and Marcia. After that, everyone seemed to be happy. But when some clouds caused a short delay, presumably because they were affecting the lighting, Teri apparently walked off set and, quote, got into a tearful, heated conversation on her cell phone. There also seemed to be tension between the enabler and the photographer. Apparently the enabler kept standing behind the photographer and monitoring him, and when the photographer asked a different publicist to back off, the enabler snapped at him and said, quote, do you know who you're talking to? A vice president of television publicity. However, the biggest irony of this photo shoot, and all of the drama to do with who was standing where, was that this photo was a bifold, meaning that half the photo was on the front cover and the other half was on the back cover, and if you open the magazine out fully, it then shows the full photo. And because Teri was on the far left of the photo, that meant that when the magazine was folded, she was actually in the middle of the front cover, which is exactly what they wanted to avoid in the first place. They then did the solo photo shoots with each of the actresses, and all of them went well except for one. Marcia's photo was of her posing next to a topiary bush in the shape of Michelangelo's David holding some garden shears. However, the topiary had a penis, which is the same as the original David statue, but Marcia was not happy about that, and her publicist said, quote, Marcia will not come on set if that penis is in the topiary. So they had to remove the penis from the topiary, and then Marsha agreed to come and take the photos. During the shoot, they were using a fan to blow Marsha's skirt up slightly, but Marsha had chosen to wear a garter belt and panties rather than petticoats. The original idea was to blow her skirt up just a little bit to reveal a bit of her panties. But the vice president of publicity shouted, quote, "Stop taking that picture. I'm not leaving. You're going to have to pull me off this set. You can see her underwear." Things then apparently got so bad that the head of publicity for ABC had to be called away from his weekend leisure so that he could come to set and calm things down. It was later revealed that they decided that this would be the last photo shoot they would ever do with this cast. They then finally wrapped shooting at 7 p.m, which was 3 hours later than scheduled. And when someone said that they had got some nice shots and everything ended up great, the enabler apparently said, quote, "That's what you think, my actors were effing miserable all day." After the Vanity Fair magazine came out and everyone had read about the on-set drama, ABC then released an official statement which said, "While negotiating certain elements of photo shoots is standard practice and was part of our coordination with Vanity Fair, this shoot simply did not go as planned. Because of this, our talent were made to deal as best they could with a situation not of their making. This one isolated incident does not define these women or their relationship." People also speculated that the fact that the photo was arranged in such a way that Marsha was on the back cover may have been a way for Vanity Fair to get revenge on Marsha for being so difficult on set, although this is just a rumour and is not substantiated. And so, in general, it became very obvious that there were real issues and a lot of tension between the actresses, and the Vanity Fair article was not exactly that complimentary towards them as a whole. And as a result of all of this drama, this photo shoot went down as one of the most infamous photo shoots ever, and gave us an insight into how these actresses interacted with each other off camera. But there were even more explosive issues yet to come. Stick around and find out what. Nicollette Sheridan's lawsuit. Nicollette Sheridan played the character of Edie Britt from season 1 until the character's death in season 5. Edie was a very popular character and is often considered to be one of the best characters on the entire show. This is why Edie's death in season 5 came as a shock to many fans, and fans also questioned why Edie was not brought back for the finale of the show when many of the previous dead characters made a brief appearance as ghosts. Well, it seems that Nicolette's life was just as dramatic off camera as it was on camera. She ended up suing the creator of the show for assault, which may be why she was written off the show. Let's go through the details now. So, in 2010, Nicollette filed a $20 million lawsuit against the creator of Desperate Housewives, Mark Cherry, as well as the ABC network. She alleged that she was assaulted on set by Mark and that she was fired as retaliation when she reported the incident to the network. It's quite a complex story, but I'll try and break it down into the most important parts. Nicolette's Wikipedia article has a fairly comprehensive breakdown of what happened, which I've used in conjunction with other sources to piece it all together. So, according to Reuters, Nicolette's lawsuit was 7 count, and it was for wrongful termination, assault and battery, gender violence, discrimination based on sex, sexual orientation and age, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. She also claimed that Mark was abusive to other members of the cast as well. However, in an article that I found by the Sydney Morning Herald, apparently the 4 actresses from the show released a joint statement supporting Mark. In terms of what happened in the lawsuit itself, according to an article in Entertainment Weekly, Nicollette claimed that in September 2008, Mark took her aside and, quote, forcibly hit her with his hand across her face and head. Nicollette apparently then complained to ABC, but she claims that no action was taken. ABC investigated, but they said they found Nicolette's claim to be, quote, without merit. In May 2011, the judge granted a trial, but threw out the claims of harassment, and the case then went to trial in 2012. During the trial, Mark claimed that what actually happened was that he was rehearsing a scene with Nicollette, and as part of that, he tapped her on the forehead to show her how she should play the scene. And that tap on the forehead was apparently the physical abuse that Nicollette was trying to sue for. He also said that the decision to kill off Nicolette's character had been done months before that even happened because the character had, quote, run its course. According to an article in The Hollywood Reporter, this was proven when some writers' cards which were written during a writers' retreat in May 2008 were presented in court, and on these writers' cards it showed that they had the idea to kill off Edie months before the alleged assault even happened. Mark also claimed that Nicollette was unprofessional on set and made rude comments about her dialogue and insulted the writers. Apparently, one day there was a scene that Nicollette was supposed to be in, and she only had 5 or 6 lines, but she didn't know any of them. There was also an incident during the first season of the show when Nicollette had an ongoing problem with Teri Hatcher, and Mark was called to the set to deal with it because the two of them were, quote, furious with each other. Nicollette apparently took Mark aside and said, quote, Teri Hatcher is the meanest woman in the world because of how she was acting. Anyway, back to the lawsuit, and in May 2012, the battery lawsuit was dismissed due to lack of evidence, and then later in the same month, the lawsuit of wrongful termination was declared a mistrial. There was then a retrial scheduled for September, but it was dismissed. Nicollette then made another appeal to the California Supreme Court in November 2012, but it was rejected. Another trial for the retaliation claim was scheduled for December 2013, but it was rejected a few months prior. Nicollette then tried to get another trial in 2013 and got the previous decision reversed, but then the decision was reversed again in January 2014 by the Los Angeles Court of Appeal. And it seems that after that, Nicollette had exhausted the options and didn't pursue any further legal action. In 2018, Nicollette opened up about the lawsuit in an interview with Entertainment Weekly and said, quote, I was vilified for standing up for my rights, not only as a woman, but as a human being. And although Nicolette's multiple lawsuits may have failed, there were some people who supported Nicolette's claim that Mark Cherry created a hostile work environment on the set of Desperate Housewives. Let's explore that more now. Hostile workplace environment. In the wake of Nicolette's lawsuit and accusations against Mark Cherry, the Daily Beast published a report where they spoke to several sources who apparently used to work on the production of Desperate Housewives. They claimed that Mark was confrontational and would throw, quote, hissy fits. They also claimed that he, quote, hates women and was dismissive to the female members of writing staff, of which there were not that many. The sources also said that Mark said multiple times he wanted to get rid of Nicollette and would say things like, quote, when can we kill her off? He really did not like working with her. There is also an interesting story where they claim that Teri Hatcher once had a showdown with Mark over a stack of blueberry pancakes used in a scene. Teri didn't want to keep eating the carby pancakes in every take, so she apparently insisted that they put blueberries on the pancakes so that she could eat the blueberries instead. She and Mark then apparently had a disagreement about it, but eventually Mark folded and let Teri eat the blueberries instead of the pancakes. And the source said, quote, it's constant drama. I also found a BuzzFeed article from 2023 where a former TV writer called Patty Lynn talked about her experience in the industry, which included working as a writer on Desperate Housewives. Patty worked as a writer on season 1 of the show, but she said that working with Mark Cherry was the first time that she ever, quote, encountered overt racism. Patty is of Taiwanese descent and was apparently the only person of colour on the writers' team. Patty alleged that the writers were once discussing comedian Margaret Cho and her sitcom, which is about a Korean-American family. And Mark apparently turned to Patty and said, quote, you should write a show like that. Patty then replied to Mark and said, quote, I love Margaret Cho, but please don't lump us together just because we're both Asian women in show business. Patty also described Mark as, quote, impossible to please, obsessive and maniacal. She also said that the writers felt unwelcome during table reads and that they would, quote, sit quietly in the back and try not to make eye contact with Teri Hatcher, which further supports the claims that Teri was problematic on set, although Patty didn't go into any further detail about why. And so it seems that several former staff members have made similar accusations against Mark and claimed that there was a hostile work environment on the set of Desperate Housewives. There were also some similar shocking revelations about fights on set from the late actress Kathryn Joosten. Let's talk about that now. Kathryn Joosten reveals backstage drama. As we've seen so far in this video, there seemed to be a lot of drama and accusations of a bad working environment on the set of Desperate Housewives. And these claims seem to be somewhat supported by one of the cast members. Kathryn Joosten played Karen McCluskey, or Mrs. McCluskey, throughout the run of the show. Her character died of cancer in the series finale, and this mirrored Kathryn in real life because she was also battling cancer, and she had agreed with the show's creator to have that storyline written into the show. Also, Kathryn sadly died 20 days after the finale of Desperate Housewives aired in June 2012. Kathryn once did an interview with emmetv.org, which was posted on the Foundation Interviews YouTube channel in 2013. There are clips of this interview still on YouTube, however the full interview was unpublished at some point, but I was able to find a link to the full interview. In the interview, Kathryn was very frank and revealed a lot of her unfiltered opinions about her time on the show and the drama on set. Kathryn started off by saying the main cast members were, quote, unnecessarily spoiled, and they each got $10,000 to decorate their trailers, which she described as excessive. She also said none of the main cast members ever invited her into their trailers over the 8 years that they filmed the show. The main actresses also did not eat with the rest of the cast, and they didn't eat the food provided, and instead they ordered takeout of whatever they wanted. Kathryn then went on to say that none of them were team players, and although they were not nasty to her, they were simply, quote, dismissive. And when a scene was over, they would only talk to each other and not to the other cast members, or they would just sit on their phones and not talk at all. She then went on to say that the cast were polite when you spoke to them, but they didn't make an effort to talk to anyone, and Kathryn said, quote, after a while you think, you know what, blow it out your ass, lady. She also said that they had issues with Nicollette because they would be waiting for hours on set for Nicollette to show up, as if, quote, no one else's time matters, which drove me crazy. All of the women apparently spent a lot of time in hair and makeup for rehearsal and would then go through hair and makeup again later on, and the makeup people would constantly be touching up their hair and makeup on set. Kathryn even mentioned that one time they were fluffing up the actress's hair on the back of their head, even though they were only being shot from the front. According to Kathryn, Teri was probably the friendliest of all of them, and when Kathryn threw a Christmas birthday party for the crew, Teri was the only one that contributed. And although she and Teri sometimes had conversations, other times they would sit next to each other and not talk at all, and Kathryn said, quote, I'm done with that. The interviewer then asked how it affected the show when Nicollette Sheridan left. Kathryn said that she had had difficulties with Nicollette in the past, and she was there on set during Nicolette's last day shooting her final scene. Kathryn needed to leave on time because she had another engagement, and she had told them that earlier on. But the day apparently dragged on because Nicollette didn't arrive on time, and Kathryn missed the engagement. Kathryn then said, quote, the whole thing was bull bleep. And this was perhaps a reference to Nicolette's lawsuit against Mark Cherry for assault. Kathryn explained that Mark was showing Nicollette how he wanted a scene to be done, which apparently involved slapping someone on the butt. And Mark apparently demonstrated this to Nicollette, who apparently, quote, took offence to that and claimed that Mark had hit her. She then went to her trailer and Mark apparently came to her trailer and apologised to her. Kathryn said that she thinks Nicollette was looking for a quick $1 million, but it didn't happen. She also questioned why people think they'll get away with doing things like that, and then said they're, quote, dumber than a box of rocks. And I thought this interview was really interesting, not just because Kathryn was very frank and revealed a lot of surprising behind-the-scenes drama, but also because Kathryn's account of the alleged assault between Mark and Nicollette differs to what was said in court. So it's unclear which version is correct, or perhaps it could be separate instances. But either way, it seems clear that Kathryn was not very close with her co-stars and insinuated that there were issues among them. And speaking of lawsuits, the final bit of shocking drama to do with the cast of Desperate Housewives is coming up now, and there is even an extra bit of unexpected drama that came from this as well. Felicity Huffman's prison sentence. Felicity Huffman played Lynette Scavo for the entire run of Desperate Housewives. Felicity is also married in real life to fellow actor William H. Macy, who starred in movies such as Jurassic Park 3 and the hit TV series Shameless. However, in 2019, Felicity was involved in a major college entrance exam cheating scandal and spent time in jail. There was also some other drama that came out of this as a result of the lawsuit to do with her fellow cast members of Desperate Housewives. Let's talk about it now. So, back in 2019, Felicity became involved in something called the Varsity Blues scandal. This was a $25 million scheme that was set up by a man named William Rick Singer, who organised a way to inflate students' college entrance exam scores and also bribe college officials so that people's children would be admitted to the college of their choosing, even if they didn't pass the entrance exam. 53 people, including Felicity, as well as another well-known actor, were involved in this illegal scheme. It came out that Felicity had paid $15,000 for someone else to take the college entrance exam for her daughter, Sophia. When it was found out, Felicity was sentenced to 14 days in prison and also 250 hours of community service. After her time in jail, in an interview with Eyewitness News, Felicity said that she is left with, quote, undying shame about what she did. She explained, quote, it felt like I had to give my daughter a chance at a future. It felt like I would be a bad mother if I didn't do it. Felicity explained that her daughter knew nothing about the scheme to falsify her exam scores, and it's also unclear whether her husband, William H. Macy, knew anything about the scandal either, but he was not involved in the lawsuit. Felicity explained that when she had spoken to the man who organised this illegal scheme, he convinced Felicity that her daughter would not get into any of the colleges she wanted unless Felicity paid to inflate her exam scores. Felicity apologised and said how much shame she felt over it, and she cried in court when she pled guilty in 2019. And this story became highly publicised news at the time. However, another interesting and unexpected twist came out during the trial, which was something to do with some drama on the set of Desperate Housewives. During Felicity's court case about the college exam cheating scandal, her co-star Eva Longoria, as well as the show's creator Mark Cherry, both wrote letters of support for Felicity, which were used during the court case. In Eva's letter, she revealed that she had a feud with a co-star on the set of Desperate Housewives, and Felicity stood up for her. Eva's letter said, quote, I dreaded the days I had to go to work with that person because it was pure torture, until one day Felicity told the bully enough and it all stopped. Felicity could feel that I was riddled with anxiety even though I never complained or mentioned the abuse to anyone. Eva also revealed that she was by far the lowest paid cast member of the main cast, but when it came time to renegotiate their contracts, Felicity said they should all negotiate together because it was only fair that they should all get paid the same. Eva said, quote, well, needless to say, that did not go over too well with the others, but Felicity stood up for me, saying it was fair because the success of the show depended on all of us, not one of us. And then, in Mark Cherry's letter to the court, he referred to a, quote, problematic cast member. Mark's letter said, quote, everyone tried their darndest to get along with this woman over the course of the show. It was impossible. Things went from bad to worse. Mark then said that during season 7, this woman decided that she would no longer talk to her fellow cast members. Mark also said that Felicity still insisted on saying good morning to this actress, even though she never got a response back. And when Mark asked why Felicity was making the effort, Felicity said, quote, "Just because that woman is determined to be rude doesn't mean she can keep me from being polite." In terms of Eva's letter where she talked about a co-star that bullied her, it's not clear who she is referring to, but many people have speculated that it is likely to be Teri or maybe Nicollette, although this is purely speculation. But if we think back to what I mentioned earlier when Eva was on Jimmy Kimmel Live, she did say that she was friends with Felicity and Marcia, but she didn't mention Teri, so that would imply perhaps that it was Teri who she had a problem with. And then, with Mark's letter where he talked about a problematic cast member, although he didn't state who it was, we know that Mark did have issues with Nicollette Sheridan because of the assault lawsuit. However, Nicolette's character Edie was killed off in season 5, whereas Mark stated in his letter that these issues happened during season 7, so it can't have been Nicollette. This means that it likely was Teri Hatcher that Mark was referring to as the problematic cast member, although this is just an educated guess. But this would make sense because, as I stated earlier, it was once reported that Teri for some reason separated herself from the rest of the cast, so this would fit the timeline. Also, back in 2018, Felicity posted on Instagram to celebrate Desperate Housewives turning 14 years old. And in the post, Felicity shared some memories about her co-stars and tagged them in the post, which included Eva, Marcia and Nicollette, but Teri was not mentioned at all. This then made news because people were saying that Teri had been, quote, snubbed by Felicity, and Felicity has since deleted her Instagram account, so the posts are no longer available. But this added even more speculation in many people's eyes that Teri was the problematic cast member, although this is still unsubstantiated. Ultimately, although we'll never know exactly what happened and who the problematic one was, it seems clear based on everything that happened that there was definitely tension among the cast. And it seems quite obvious that there was a lot of drama behind the scenes and potentially a somewhat toxic workplace environment, and who knows if we'll ever find out the truth. So there you go, there was a deep dive into the many dramas and scandals to do with the cast of Desperate Housewives. Which of these dramas shocked you the most? And would you like to see Desperate Housewives come back in the future? Let me know in the comments. If you'd like to get early access to my videos as well as other benefits, please consider subscribing to my Patreon. It just costs a few dollars a month and it really helps support my channel, and I'll leave a link to that in the description. Please make sure you like and comment on this video to help tell the algorithm this is a great video, and please make sure you subscribe to my channel because it really does make a huge difference. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in a future video. Thank you, bye!